Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming tonight to our Committee of the Whole, Maple Heights School Board of Education meeting scheduled Monday, November 15th, 2021, held at 5740 Lawn Avenue, Maple Heights, Ohio. Set to start at 5:36 in the boardroom. We have a roll call.
Here.
Here.
Here, maybe all rise for the pledge of allegiance, please.
Flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We will turn the floor over to Dr. Keenan for his informational.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board, Ms. Beverly. Before I get started with my report for this evening, I'd like to ask that we all take a moment of silence. We had a tragic passing of a student since our last board meeting, Shashawn Anderson. I'd like to ask for a moment of silence for Shashawn and his family, please, this time. Thank you. For my report for this evening under 4A1, I want to report out to everybody that our athletic banquet for this year will take place, the fall athletic bank will take place on November 30th at 6 p.m. at the high school. Nice opportunity to highlight and recognize some of our student athletes for both their academic and their athletic accomplishments. The second thing under 4A that the board has requested that we do is give a little update on some of our positions in the district and how they relate to the vision and mission and the strategic plan that we put together over the summer. So we have 4 areas on our strategic plan: communications, finances, academics, and diversity, equity, and inclusion. And I've asked 4 of our central office administrators to come tonight and just briefly talk about their role and how they relate to those 4 areas, and then open the floor to any questions you may have of any of them. So we'll start with Mr. Rossi.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening. I gave an update on the academic area of the district action plan a couple of weeks ago, so I won't go into a lot of details there, but I just want to say that the logo that's been created to capture the 5-year plan is really phenomenal, and it really kind of ties together everything that I think all of us are going to just talk about briefly tonight, how we're all interrelated and how each of us plays a part in each area of that district plan. So as far as academics and curriculum are concerned, I've talked in the past about how often John and I meet in my department, and John meet just every other week, but mostly we touch base almost every single day talking about data and how it relates to our instruction and our intervention and our assessment pieces. So we do have an integral relationship, but what's been really wonderful also is developing that relationship with the communications department and the fabulous job that Gia is doing and working with Dr. Keenan to get positive messaging out and more transparent communication with our parents and our family and our communities. So Gia and I have been actually, I get all kinds of wonderful pictures about really great things that are happening in the classroom, great instructional pieces, and we kind of share that, and she's putting out really all the really wonderful things that get overlooked about the instruction that's happening in the classroom. We have a tremendous presence on Facebook and Twitter, and I'm not an Instagram person, but we really do a lot with Facebook and Twitter, and I'm on Twitter a lot trying to promote that. And so working with Gia, it's just been a very positive experience talking about the things that are going on with academics and curriculum. The Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee is also very vital in helping us to restructure some of our curriculum. Although our curriculum is based on state standards, there is a need to make sure that our materials and our resources and our instructional strategies reflect the students of our community. So we do a lot of that we get a lot of that information from the DEI about equity audits and about things that we need to do and when we're looking at resources. You know, we want books and materials that look like our children. We want books written by people of color. That doesn't mean that we're going to decimate everything that we've accumulated, but we're also going to start recognizing and including and adding more of those pieces into our instruction, in our libraries, in our work for students. The other area that I work very closely with through my position is in the finance area, because I do oversee the federal grants, but I work very closely with KJ and Dr. Keenan to make sure that we're spending the money in the proper way, the right way, make sure that we're supplementing and not supplanting. And the thing about every decision that we make, it's what's best for students, but it's based on data. So when John gives us a data report, we say, you know, this is where we need to put our resources. This is where we need to really focus on things. So we're very clear, meet with KJ quite a bit over how we're spending some of the grant money to make sure we're spending it wisely and in the best interest of the kids. So that's a little bit about how I work in those other areas with the other pieces of the district action.
Any questions for Mr. Rossi?
I just have a comment. I know you were talking about how you guys use the data, you know, individually, be able to, you know, focus on the individual needs of our students. We recently went to the Capitol Conference, and that was the main topic of a lot of the professional development sessions that we attended. Is, you know, they were pushing and making sure that in order for the students to be successful, you know, you just have to start focusing on the individual plan for the students. And, you know, we could probably say, you know, as for Maple, we're already doing that, you know, and so we also talked about you and Susan, I know I did, when we were in sessions, about you guys already being able to do that. So you may be the
I appreciate that.
Okay.
We're proud of this work.
All right, thank you, Mr. Rossi. John Scala?
Hey, everyone.
Hello.
All right, so when Troy asked me to come today, I did prepare something for you guys to be more clear and concise, so I can work through this in a minute and a half. So I'm gonna touch on all 4 areas. I'm just gonna discuss my role with it, and after that, I'll just take your questions. All right, so starting with academics, kind of my main role is overseeing the deployment of all district and local assessments, ensuring they are both reliable and valid. Upon completion of those assessments, my role is to organize and report data in a way that helps all staff understand the results in order to obtain insight regarding the strengths and weaknesses of all students, staff, and curriculum. For DEI, my main role thus far for diversity, equity, and inclusion has been to work with the ESC to create the equity audit report. Upon its completion, I was tasked with interpreting the final report, summarizing it, and presenting it to all stakeholders. Following my presentation, I worked through a root cause analysis with the committee, and as of last Monday, completed the solution section of the analysis, so that is now done. Communications, my main role is to ensure communications stemming from my department are clear and concise, ensuring that all stakeholders are kept up to date with the information they need to be successful. Additionally, my role is managing a number of programs that the district uses to communicate with students and parents, ensuring that all data within those programs is up to date, all staff know how to use them and to troubleshoot any problems that users may experience with them. Last is finances. So although I don't really work with KJ a lot directly, as Susan mentioned, data does drive decision-making. So and a number of those decisions involve the purchasing of resources. So therefore, my main role is to ensure the district has up-to-date and accurate information when making purchases that involve my department. And that'll be it.
Anyone have a question for John?
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Mark? Mr. Curtis is our Director of Technology and EMIS and data.
So for DEI, I mean, I already reported out on this previously, and a lot of what John has spoken about. You know, I want to reiterate other than to say that we are on track with what our expectations are for year 1 of the 5-year strategic plan. And so the next quarter, I think the position of 5 information over with curriculum and instruction, one of my primary responsibilities is EMIS. And as you know, make sure that our assessment data is accurate, course codes are accurate, make sure that all of the data gets done and reported within the collection windows that are outlined throughout EMIS. There are many windows, so make sure that cross-check things, make sure that the data is accurate so that it doesn't negatively impact our state report card, because we know that that's important. For finance, I'll stick along the EMIS piece because, as you know, a lot of our funding is tied to enrollment, our FTEs, program codes, special ed, funding, all of that is runs through EMIS, and we got to make sure that we work with the various departments that impact those data, make sure that they're accurate on a regular basis, and I work with Howard to make sure that, again, we meet our timelines, it's submitted accurately so that it doesn't impact our funding. Also, the 5-year forecast. So we're on track and we're doing well supporting that work. Last but not least is communications. As you know, new family engagement coordinator, as well as our homeless liaison, they're housed in my office suite. So we do a lot around making sure that a lot of the information is being put out on the website as parents come through. We make sure that we direct them to the website. I navigate it as parents call. We do the same thing. And a lot of the information in terms of current events and things like that is being pushed out. Both of those ladies do a phenomenal job, as well as working with Sue to make sure that our parents are well informed of all of the activities that are happening throughout the district, and any calendar events that are happening. Make sure that we're supporting that work in communications. Any questions?
Thank you. Last for this evening, we have Ms. Cruz in HR.
Good evening. So my department overlaps again with everyone. And it first began when we look at academics, when we are hiring individuals into our district, what are we doing to support them? So it's really about the talent management piece. So providing, realigning how we did our orientation this year to make sure we build in time throughout the year to tailor what exactly that professional development needed to look like based on what individuals needed. Additionally, looking at exit surveys from last year and actually the year prior to look at what were some of the things that when staff leave, what were their reason for leaving is there things and were there things we could do to mitigate that piece. In terms of DEI, again, connecting back to our hiring practices, working with Cleveland Area Minority Educational Association, so we can look at increasing the number of minorities that we bring into our quality applicants to our district. So this year, of the individuals hired, 38% of them were minorities. In terms of communication, really focusing on internal communication, and that would be working with both our labor management groups, MHTA and MOST, to try and mitigate and be on the same page in terms of what issues and concerns they may have, as well as providing real-time updates to principals as laws and rules changes as it relates to them being able to do their job, and putting out this year our professional development at a glance. So everyone in the district is aware of what professional development we're focusing on this year and when they're getting it. And then on top of that, providing the finite details, at least 2 to 3 weeks to building principals so that they can tailor individual work for their buildings, and staff is aware of what's coming at them as well. For the external communication piece, it really is, I just started working with our communication coordinator on let's get information out about what our needs are for the district to see if we have folks out there that are interested in working for us, or it really is that recruitment and hiring. And then last but not least is finance. KJ and I meet regularly with onboarding and offboarding, having to make sure that we're paying people correctly and then we're not paying them when we shouldn't be paying them, as well as making sure that we have procedures between both departments to make sure there's a clean flow of information in terms of, are we coding people correctly for EMIS purposes and things of that nature. And I looked at the clock, that was a minute. and 20 seconds, which is unheard of. Any questions?
I don't have any questions.
No,
Thank you so very much.
thank you.
I'd just like to, also just commend our administrative team and talk a little bit about the goals that you guys have set forth for us as a board. The one about communications as well. I mean, aside from what they've each talked about, we also have every 2 weeks, a cabinet meeting, which is about several hours in the morning, just to communicate across all departments to make sure we're all having good communication and conversation about things that cross over in the major areas. And then each one of these central office administrators has been tasked to go out to the buildings and in their area, communicate effectively to the building level administrators, the things that they need to get across. So there's quite a bit of communication and just want to commend them. We've already mentioned before, last meeting, a little bit about the work that Gia does here and that Tracy does as far as DEI. We have quite a few people that are working on the different areas of the continuous improvement plan. So thank you for that. For my recommendations for this evening, we're recommending 4B 1 through 5 and 4C 1 through 3.
Tonight, Dr. Keenan is asking for approval for 4B 1 through 5 and 4C 1 through 3 from personnel. Anyone have any questions before I ask for a motion? May I have a motion? So moved.
Second,
Can we have a roll call, please?
Ms. Bruce?
Yes.
Ms. Roseman?
yes.
Ms. Moore?
Yes, motion carries. Next on the agenda will be reports for the committee of the whole. And since we have a presentation, do we have any more, any more presentations within those categories?
The only thing I'll mention, and you guys may want to weigh in on it, I was very impressed. We had all of our board members attend the Capitol Conference last week. A lot of good sessions, as Ms. Moore already mentioned, and we already got some feedback from some of our board members about just staying on top of things and making sure that we're on the cutting edge. So thank you for your participation and leadership in that area.
Anyone else have any reports they want to report on Capitol Conference? Next on the agenda is visitor participation. If we have anyone here that would like to address the board, you can come to the podium, please state your name, your address, and please say it very slowly so it can be recorded accurately for the records. Dan, you have anything to say? You'll be quiet, okay? Thank you for coming. Next, we are going to executive session, and thank you guys for coming, but we're gonna go in for personnel, no action will be taking place. So, may I have a motion, please, for into executive session? Thank you. We have a roll call.
Ms. Bruce? Ms. Roseman?
Yes.
Ms. Moore?
Yes, we are now